What's going on all you gamers? Today we're back with a little bit more Gotham Knights. What we're covering today are some things you may want to think about for when the new heroic assault mode's coming out. So if you want to know why I think elemental builds are going to be key to defeating this and why they're going to do so much damage, then stay tuned. That's coming up next. Welcome back everybody. Today we're jumping back into a little bit of Gotham Knights and I'm going to be going over why you may want to consider changing up and putting some elemental into your builds. Now at the moment obviously we don't know too much about the heroic assault mode. It should definitely be the toughest content and will have us facing waves of enemies, a few objectives thrown into the mix, and having us complete stages or floors in order to move on to another one, with 30 being in total. Now I would hazard a guess that there will be some mini bosses or bosses thrown in there, but after playing Gotham Knights for quite some time, there's a few things I've started to realise. Now I've seen a lot of people jumping straight on the crit train, crit chance, crit damage. It does massive damage in the game, but a lot of people I've seen tend to be playing the game on normal. On normal, once you get a solid build together, you can smash through everything with relative ease. If however you chuck it up to hard, even though it's not the most difficult game, you do start to see a few things taking place. For example, they have added health, they hit you for a lot harder, and just in general you're going to have a little bit of a tougher time. This is when area effects and elemental damage is going to come into play. But even more so, it's going to come into play in this full player mode because of a few other factors. Now obviously at the moment this is a little bit of guesswork because we don't actually know if we're going to carry our characters' builds across. I would hazard a guess that we're probably not, to be perfectly honest, because after playing the campaign for quite some time I've now got a few builds on that can absolutely destroy everything with relative ease even on the hardest settings. If these do carry across to the full player mode, I can't see me struggling on it whatsoever, and I'd imagine I'll probably be able to beat it quite easily on the first day it's out. Like I said, it is a bit of guesswork, so I don't know exactly everything that's involved, but I would imagine a maxed out build at the moment is going to be very powerful in that game mode, so they'll probably want you starting from scratch. However, back to the topic on hand with the crit damage and why I think elemental will supersede all of that when it comes out with this game mode, and that's the fact that your crit and crit damage is based off of your stats. At the moment, if you're going in and you're doing a lot of crit damage, you'll probably do higher numbers than you will with anything else in the game. You can hit upwards of 30s, 40s, even 50k plus with some builds and some abilities. However, that's all based off of your character stats. The better your character stats are, the better that build's going to be. With the elemental, however, it's completely different. It took me a while as I was very confused. I tried my hardest. I would get my power levels up, I would get the elemental build up. Nothing seemed to make any sense on how I was doing my damage, until I realised it's not about yourself doing the damage, it's actually about the characters you're facing. So if I show you a little bit of footage here, we're going to be jumping in and I'm going to be taking on one of the easier ads. Everything's on hard mode just so you know, but some of them will be slightly easier targets, and so their health will be able to dwindle down a little bit easier. If you see here, whilst I'm fighting them, because I'm fighting someone with a little bit of a lower health threshold, it means that the damage I'm going to be doing to them, whether it be tick damage or whether it be burst damage, anything of the elemental type, it can be good sometimes, but it'll be a little bit on the subpar compared to those crit builds. The reason for that, like I said, the enemy we're facing doesn't have the highest health. If I show you here and I go over to one of the tougher enemies with a higher health pool, now my damage is absolutely jumping through the roof when compared to the other ad. But also based off their elemental weaknesses. The Court of Hell, for example, are weak to cryogenics, meaning you can do some massive damage to their tough enemies. Because the damage I'm doing is kind of percentage based on the amount of health the enemy I'm facing has. Remember, when you're playing solo, you're going to be smashing through everything, the health is not that high. When we're playing duo, the health raises again, and you're going to start doing more damage with your elemental builds. Now think about heroic mode, you're going to have 4 people, every person that you have extra in this game, we already know, builds their health pool up and makes them hit you harder. So now for your heroic mode, the builds that seemed a little bit subpar when you're playing solo or when you're playing at lower levels will probably start to shine and will do a lot more damage than you actually realised. After playing for quite some time and looking in some builds, there's 1 or 2 elements that kind of shine. Fire is decent overall, but very hard to build up. If you can apply it and if you can make it build up, it's going to be one of the stronger ones. And Toxic's also pretty good because it means you're going to hit them harder, as it lowers their defense and how much they hit you with. Concussive I would 100% stay clear of. It is the worst out of all of them and really not worth applying, and even Electricity is worth doing from time to time, as it can make some of the toughest enemies really struggle in order to throw their moves at you. But one element that you'll want to look at more than any other, and one that does ridiculous crowd control and some of the highest damage I've seen in the game, is going to be your cryogenic builds or your ice builds. If you can apply ice very fast and build it up so that they get frozen, not only are they going to be taken out of the situation, they can't move for a while, you can just go about your day fighting other enemies if you want for a few seconds, but when you do hit them back and break them out of that encasing, it's going to do massive damage depending on how much health the enemy has. Like I said, you're going to be playing 4-player mode, the numbers here are going to be a lot lower than they will be in that, meaning it will probably be upwards of 50-60k I would imagine offhand. Trust me, start getting used to your elemental builds now, and you'll probably want to work them into your team if you're going to be playing this mode, as I think it's going to overwhelm the enemy a lot easier than you would have if you're just going for that crit build. These elemental builds should truly shine in that 4-player aspect. Now let me know in the comments what you think. Are you looking forward to this new heroic mode that's coming out on the 29th of November? And let me know what character you're looking forward to playing in it most. But as always, for all things gaming, for all things Xbox, take care.